It's on to round two for the Phoenix Suns, taking on the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Semifinals. The tip-off on Saturday, early evening in Denver, Colorado. So let's get a scouting report from our friend Gerald Bourguet over at PHNX, who's on the ground with the Suns in Denver. What should we expect as the Suns try to move on to the Western Conference Finals?
You're on the mean streets of Denver there. Are you flying the Suns flag, or are these people out for blood after what happened in 2021?
I think there's some animosity here in the city. This is normally a Broncos town, but you can just tell, even on Twitter, the way that people are reacting to Suns podcasts and Nuggets podcasts. There's definitely some bad blood here. So it's going to be I'm looking forward to the series from a basketball standpoint, but there's a lot on the line for both of these fan bases, I think.
First one to 130 wins. How are we handicapping this one?
Yeah, honestly, I think the Suns are still figuring some things out on the defensive side of the ball with Kevin Durant being in the equation now. The Nuggets were a top 5 offense during the regular season. The Suns have been one of the best 2 offenses since Kevin Durant joined. So there's going to be a lot of offense in this series. You know, Kevin Durant wasn't around last time. Jamal Murray wasn't around last time. You're talking about a 2-time MVP for the Nuggets and Jokic. And Devin Booker has been the best scorer in the playoffs so far. So there's going to be plenty of buckets to go around in this one.
Have the Suns, do you think they figured anything out in the first round against the Clippers with the way they defended them, or do they still need time to figure out their spots on the floor?
Yeah, I think Monty and the players will tell you it's still a work in progress, but I do think in that Clippers series that helped them grow and adjust a little bit. You're talking about Tyronn Lue and throwing all kinds of different defenses at the Suns because he sort of had to. Booker was saying yesterday at practice, he felt like that helped them prepare because there aren't many defenses that they're going to see the rest of the way that they didn't see in that first round. You know, they went zone, they trapped, they blitzed, they went man, there was drop coverage, there was all kinds of different coverages thrown at the Suns. And I don't think the Nuggets have the defensive personnel or the schemes to make them work in quite those same ways. So I do think that could be instructive and helpful, even though it was only 5 games, in terms of how to deal with different looks that an opponent might throw at them.
Kevin Durant, despite scoring 31 points the other night, in my estimation, doesn't look comfortable yet. Would you agree with that assessment? And do you think he finds some sort of comfort? Is this the series to find that sort of comfort?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's weird because we look at that first round series and it didn't feel like he was all the way integrated with what this team does on the offensive end. But then you look up and he's averaging 28 points per game on 50% shooting. Like, that's just how incredible he is as a player. But I do think the Suns need to involve him more. I think if anything, he might look a little too comfortable because they have him spacing off the ball a lot of the time and spacing in the corner. And that's great because it opens things up in the middle of the floor because that help defender can't help off of Kevin Durant. But at the same time, they need to use him as more than just an expensive decoy, as Monty joked. Like, they need to find ways to get him the ball in live ball situations. They need to let him take the ball up the floor and run some pick and roll actions. And I think we will. We saw a little bit more of Booker and KD screening for each other down the stretch in Game 5. I think they might have been wanting to keep that close to the vest for further series. But hopefully they'll be able to involve him a little bit more because, like I said, it's crazy that the guy averaged 28 points per game while primarily playing off the ball. I think now this is a good series to get him involved because, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Gordon's a great defender. Michael Porter Jr. has some length and has improved on that end, but the Nuggets don't have anybody that can check him for a full series.
His Suns and 4 guys showed up yet. Is he going to lead the charge here and bring the physicality?
I sure hope not, because that was a wonderful moment in time, Suns and 4. But I think we learned our lesson from that chant, especially in the 2021 finals. So hopefully we can preserve that moment in time and just leave it there.
Oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. Walking out of the arena after being up 2-0 to the Bucks. My, how things changed. What has changed with the Nuggets, do you think, as far as the roster goes? Are they who has the defensive advantage in this series, in your opinion?
I think it's the Suns, but it's tough to say. I really do think, like, outside of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Bruce Brown, and Aaron Gordon, like, the rest of the guys on the Nuggets can be exploited defensively. I think Jokic does a good job playing up in the pick and roll at the level. And I think he's a little bit better on that end than he's given credit for, but the Suns are going to run him in constant actions. They're going to do the same thing with Jamal Murray, and their point of attack defense has been a little suspect. You saw what Anthony Edwards was able to do against them in the first round. He averaged, I think, like 30 points per game on really efficient shooting. So that's going to be a problem for them, especially if they're running Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, even Chris Paul at this stage of his career in a bunch of pick and rolls. I don't know if the Nuggets have the personnel to stick with that kind of constant movement. It could be similar to 2021 where, they've got a lot of what the Suns call pigeons out on the court, guys that they're targeting. The key for them is going to be able to keep up with Phoenix's high-powered offense on the other end. And they do have the pieces to do that. They're a much more efficient team around Jokic now. They're a very efficient three-point shooting team, even though they don't get a ton of shots up, and they like to score in the paint. So that's going to be a key for Phoenix. Try and keep them out of the paint and prevent them from getting the looks that they like.
So am I hearing a prediction here?
I'm going Suns in 6 on this one. I think that's been my go-to, and I do think that I would be surprised if the Suns lose this series. I know the Nuggets are the best team in the West. They're a much more formidable opponent than what the Suns saw in the first round, but I feel like the Suns are just the better team, and they have a little bit more room to work against this Denver defense.
Awesome. Where can we find your stuff this week? How will you be getting your content to the masses?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Gerald Bourguet. You can check out all my written content at gophnx.com. And then we do our podcast 5 days a week, the PHNX Suns podcast. You can get that wherever you get your pods.
All right, and thank you for letting us use your sound tonight. Nick King and John Gustafson couldn't get to practice with all the gear in time, so we will be checking in with you on the extra point tonight. Look forward to seeing what you get from practice. What do you expect at practice today?
I'm pretty sure we're going to hear from Kevin Durant. We'll probably hear from Monty again. Yesterday was Monty, Devin Booker, and Campaign, so we'll probably get DA and Kevin Durant. I'm assuming today. Probably get some thoughts from DA on that matchup with Jokic, so that should be fun.
All right. Looking forward to it. Safe travels out there. When Nick King gets there, make sure he knows where to go. And, raise hopefully a victory glass for the Phoenix Suns, taking 1, maybe even 2 in the Rocky Mountains this weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mark.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS 5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.